welcome to the show today. Welcome to our virtual audience. Welcome to all of you at home. Well, one of my guests today has set off a firestorm on social media in the past 24 hours. I've not done the interview yet. In fact, it's going to be live in a few minutes. But the very idea that I would have Sherry Pie on, a former contestant on a very popular reality show, who was kicked off after multiple men came forward with proof of sexual predatory behavior, was seen by some as giving away my platform. And that's what I want to address before we even start this interview. Now, I've been a reporter for 30 years. I've conducted and I've watched interviews with people who have done bad things. I've interviewed rapists. I've interviewed murderers. I remember interviewing a woman while she was still behind bars who'd murdered a child she was trusted to care for. And the stench of evil in that room was unmistakable. It's not giving away your platform. It's called an interview. And people who do bad things are interviewed. R. Kelly comes to mind. As you know, accused of sexually assaulting multiple women. That's just one person that I'm thinking of who was recently interviewed on multiple platforms and shared all over social media. And he still denies these claims. It was implied by some that I wouldn't sit down with R. Kelly or other big names accused of reprehensible things. I've been open over the years about my sister who was murdered. And I would be even willing to interview the person who allegedly killed her. Because I've learned a lot about domestic violence from not only the many victims I spend time with, but the perpetrators too. We believe the men who've gone on record about Sherry Pie. We believe in being fair, and we don't give free passes. I don't give free passes. Sherry Pie agreed to an interview. No conditions. We've offered no opportunity to promote a book, a podcast, anything that could be seen as profiting. This interview is what we say every day on the show. Let's talk about it. And that's what we're going to do. An undeniable cultural phenomenon, RuPaul's Drag Race has brought the art of drag front and center, and it's earned 39 Emmy nominations, 19 wins, and multiple global spinoffs. For Joey Gugliemelli, a New York City drag queen better known to fans as Sherry Pie, Drag Race was an opportunity to compete with the best. But soon after season 12 premiered last March, details about inappropriate sexual misconduct by Gugliemelli rocked the show. As many as 9 men bravely came forward saying Joey was a predator who had spent years so-called catfishing aspiring young actors, creating a fake online persona named Allison Mossy, a casting director who promised roles in a bogus TV show and a made-up play. An article by writer David Mack on BuzzFeed details how one victim was encouraged to take off his shirt, flex, and even strip down to his underpants to get into character. And in a series of text and email exchanges with Allison, some lasting for weeks, some of the men say that they were asked for what they describe as degrading and sexually suggestive videos. After the news broke, Gugliemelli issued a statement apologizing, saying, "I want to start by saying how sorry I am that I caused such trauma and pain and how horribly embarrassed and disgusted I am with myself." Drag Race responded with an unprecedented move, disqualifying a queen after the season had already taped, something the show has never had to face in its 12 years on air. Sherry was all but edited out completely. VH1 stated out of respect for the hard work of the other queens, VH1 will air the season as planned. Sherry will not appear in the grand finale, scheduled to be filmed later. In his first interview since issuing that apology and being kicked off the show, Joey Gugliemelli joins us from New York City. And Joey, you're not in your attire, your drag costume is Sherry Pie. This is how you present yourself every day. I'm sure you've seen a lot of the comments already, and I just want to launch in with the fact that there are up to about a dozen people now who've gone on record who have made similar allegations that you don't deny. After this interview, do you anticipate that there could be more people who come forward with credible information that you did this to them to beyond those who've come forward?
Um, well, thank you for having me. First of all, I just first want to say um, there are no allegations. I've admit to my wrongdoings and my um, just beyond wrongdoings, just horrible behavior. And I don't know if after I do this interview, if more will come forward. I'm here to just apologize. And I want to make that very clear that I understand now in in lieu of this year how much pain I've caused. And some of these people, I wish I had their relationships in through COVID and through all of this, but I just want to let the victims know and everyone else know that I am so sorry. And I can't even begin to imagine the pain and the trauma that I have caused. And that's really all I have to
Yeah, and,
say is that
and I think you've
I
apologized before, and I thought about this a lot last night. And there was a quote that came up in an interview, an article on Esquire magazine, and someone said about the victim's pain, which is obviously the most important thing, but the pain you caused the community. And it said that what you did, basically, you fed into the scrutiny that the LGBTQ plus endure every day. And so much of the
yeah,
criticism and the prejudice and the scrutiny you played into with this behavior. Something I've never said on air before. I was a 7-year-old child. I watched someone I love very dearly beaten in front of me. He was dressed as a woman, and the man he was out with felt he tricked him and was prepared to take his life. What you've done, as you know, can't just be words. It has to be
no, I have,
deeds.
yeah,
What have
yeah,
you
I know.
done in this year that you've taken to reflect on this?
Well, I this year has been a long year for a lot of us, but I've been really deep in therapy. I've been doing cognitive behavioral therapy, which I started kind of right after this, but
Right.
I also uh, have seen psychiatrists and seeing my therapist when this all kind of went down or happened. Um, I I was already seeing
Yeah.
somebody,
And
but
I
I
and I want to
really
talk to you
started
about that, but I think that because we have to take a beat and recognize those are things to
totally
fix you.
100%.
But what
Yeah,
are you doing for the community? And yes, you have to fix yourself
I've
before you can help somebody else. But those
uh-huh.
are things to fix you.
Yeah. I have reached out to I've spoken to 3 of the victims. Um and I have spoken to them. 2 of them I still kind of speak to. One of them asked me no longer to contact them, and I totally understand that,
Are
and
you
I'm
worried
not
about criminal charges, Joey? Because here's the deal, and we've done a lot of research. The catfish laws, if you will, are very loose out there, but there are allegations of financial fraud. There are allegations that, in the hands of certain prosecutors, could end up with either civil or potentially criminal investigations. Are you prepared for that?
I'm prepared to take any responsibility. Listen, I when everything kind of happened, I'm not here to hide. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
I didn't want to be somebody who was accused of something and who just kept denying, denying, denying. This wasn't something that I um, deep down felt good about doing. These a lot of these people were friends of Joey, and Sherry, but of Joey and
Yeah.
relationships that I really miss.